Morning glory and evening grace, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt from Studio West and Bonjour, hi, Canada. So good that you are all joining me in the afternoon, driving you home in the side of the Beltway, driving you around your lunch hour on the West Coast. I am back in the afternoons. I'm joined by Ambassador Oksana Markarova, Ukraine's ambassador to the United States. Madam Ambassador, welcome back to the Hugh Hewitt Show. It's good to talk to you again.
Merry Christmas, Hugh, and Happy New Year.
Thank you. There is a headline this afternoon that we're very close to a hostage deal in Israel. I am wondering if we are close to an end of the war in Ukraine. What do you think?
Well, that's something that we pray for all the time, both, the return of the hostages in Israel, but return of everyone in Ukraine, and hopefully just and lasting peace. But as we understand, and as President-elect Trump said, it's gonna take some time because we still have to force and convince Mr. Putin to stop this aggression.
I have talked to the president-elect about Ukraine, most recently on Monday. He's a big admirer of President Zelensky. Do you expect continued support for Ukraine's fight for its freedom under President-elect Trump?
Well, look, this fight is very important for Ukraine, as we discussed before with you. It's existential for us. But I believe it's very important and existential for everyone who believes in freedom. And we really appreciate peace through strength approach, which President Reagan, when he used it, it led to the final destruction of the evil empire, then Soviet empire. And that approach will definitely lead to just and lasting peace in our region. So it was President Trump, I just want to remind you, who was the first president, American president, to provide us with lethal aid in his previous term. And we definitely believe that it's in the interest of the US, Ukraine, all countries that believe in democracy and freedom to win in this one. Now, it might not be easy. It might require a lot of efforts on all of the sides. But what we hear, and we're really encouraged that General Keith Kellogg was nominated to be appointed the special envoy for Ukraine and Russia. And we look forward on working with everyone in the incoming administration on bringing the peace closer. It all will depend, of course, on the strength part of the peace through strength deal.
I like to remind my audience, because I've been a longtime supporter of Ukraine's fight for its freedom, that it was President Trump who sent lethal aid. It was that lethal aid that allowed the Ukrainian soldiery to deter the Putin attempt to basically destroy the country in 2 weeks. But now it's a trench warfare thing. And, some Americans are tired, Madam Ambassador. What do you say to them? How close is it to actually a deal or a victory that the bloodshed can stop?
Hugh, let's remind maybe a little bit to our audience where we are right now. It's 1050th day of the war that started in 2022, war that a lot of people expected to be over in 3 days or 3 weeks, because you look at the map, we're very small, Russia is very large, and at that time everyone thought it had the second largest and capable army in the globe. Well, we sometimes joke, although it's a dire situation, but humor helped us throughout this difficult years as well, that it's definitely a second army in Ukraine, to the Ukraine, because 1050 days, not only we are standing, we liberated 50% of what Russia occupied initially in 2022. We destroyed 1/3 of Russian Black Sea Fleet. We're holding a very difficult line, 1,200 kilometers, which is approximately 800 miles of active combat on a daily basis against a much larger enemy. Of course, thanks to bravery of our soldiers, thanks to the leadership of President Zelensky, but also thanks to the help of American people, European people, Japanese, all the coalition of the willing who help us to hold the line. Now, nobody wants peace more than us. It was not just very difficult 3 years, it was 10 years since Russia attacked us the first time in 2014. But the question is, how can we force Putin to understand that he cannot sustain the effort and he should stop? Because, again, let us remind everyone, Ukraine was never a threat to Russia. It was Russia which attacked us in 2014. It was Russia that attacked us in 2022. If Russia wanted to stop it, they could stop it in a day. And again, as I said before, we all really pray that they understand, and with additional actions and with additional sanctions, and there are some actions that could be taken that would convince them this is the time to stop and sit down and discuss.
What kind of actions are those, Madam Ambassador? Because that perked up my ears. What kind of actions can be taken to force Putin to the table?
Well, we have been talking. First of all, of course, we're very grateful for the military support and everything we are doing to defend ourselves and the defensive operation in Kursk, and everything we can do to not to allow Putin to be successful with these daily attacks everywhere in Ukraine against peaceful civilians. That helps. But also sanctions and isolation. I mean, Russian economy is in pretty fragile situation. I don't want to be overconfident about where it is. It's definitely in bad shape, but it's not in the shape that we need it to be in order for Putin to realize he cannot sustain the effort. Having said that, just 118 banks that have been sanctioned by the US had a tremendous effect on Putin's ability to sell or to buy or to replenish his stocks of the ammunition. A couple of months ago, when sanctions were introduced against 56 banks, including Gazprom Bank, it was disconnected from the Chinese Union Pay system in a split second. And we know that majority of countries are not working with those banks which are under sanctions. Just imagine if there could be sectoral sanctions against all Russian banks. That would not only stop Russian transactions, that would also stop those countries which are still trying to help Russia in some way possible. Second, energy, oil and gas, main sources of income for Russia. I mean, we should squeeze Russian gas and oil from everywhere, replace it with American gas, replace it with the gas from the countries that are not participating, that are freedom-loving countries. That also could be done. US has done it, but now we need US leadership in convincing other countries to do it. So just these two sectors, and of course there is much more we can do on the sanctions area, but just financial sector and energy. If the sanctions
All right, so Madam Ambassador, I want to ask the hardest question that's on the minds of a lot of Americans. I'm talking to you from Southern California, which is a devastated place. And I know you've seen devastation in Ukraine. If you go to Pacific Palisades, Sylmar, Altadena, Pasadena, you'll see anything the equal of what you see in Ukraine because of these fires. Americans want to know, why are we sending money to Ukraine and not to California? What's your answer to them?
Hugh, I mean, the pictures from California are devastating. And as you know, we have offered whatever help we can, and we're praying for the people of California. This is a disaster. And the fact that we are suffering actually makes us understand it even more, not focus on only our suffering. First of all, look, we're very grateful for all the support to American people. And out of the 170 almost billion, 5 supplementary funds, as you know, about 100 billion, we received some portion of the money as the budget support. The rest remained here, but we received so needed weapons while the money was used here to produce and increase the readiness of the United States as well. We are very grateful for this, and we would like to become self-sustainable and not to be asking for more help, but actually being partners and doing together, developing it together. That's why the third point I wanted to mention is confiscation of the Russian sovereign funds. There are 300 billion of Russian sovereign funds which are frozen, which we are using the proceeds of them as recent as at the end of last year, but we can confiscate it, and Russia should pay, not the taxpayers of our friends, for the rebuilding of Ukraine and also for sustaining the effort. So again, I just want to say again to the people of the United States how grateful we are, and that if we do a little bit more together, if we confiscate these Russian sovereign funds, and if we move closer to just and lasting peace, Ukraine could be not just a good partner to the United States, but we could be a solution to so many global problems in food security, in energy, good partner in supply chain, and actually add to the United States, not only ask for help.
Ambassador, I appreciate it so much, Madam Ambassador Markarova. Thank you. Please keep coming back, occasionally updating us, and prayers for a just and lasting peace in Ukraine soon. I appreciate your time this afternoon on the Hugh Hewitt Show. Thank you, Madam Ambassador.